Okay, now we're recording. Okay, so we have utility bill. What kind of charges are we looking for? Like, what information do we need from this bill? How about we start with that? So we want to fill in that chart, lab 3. Actually, let me bring that lab 3 up. So what information do we need here to fill in that table?
The distribution charge?
Okay. Yep, that's part of it. Let's look at the table here. That's weird. So can you guys see the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're filling in this table here. So we have month, we have the use. So this is natural gas. We have the month, we have the use, we have the total bill, we have the energy cost, we have the marginal cost. So those are what we need to figure out. Okay, so let's easy one first. The month and the year. That should be easy to find. Right, so we have, you actually have to be a little careful with this one. So what's our start and end date for this bill?
January to February.
So it's January 10th to February 6th. When we do this analysis, we're really analyzing the energy use. So which month does this mostly cover?
January.
Right. So even though it says it's the February bill, it says it up here, right? February 2016, that's because that's when they bill it. But really the energy use is January. Okay. Oh, hi, Emily.
Hi.
So yeah, this is January's bill. Okay. So there's the date. What do we have next? We have the use. Let's look at the use. Where's the use? Okay. So how much energy in natural gas do we use here?
1,044 kilowatt hours.
So what's a kilowatt hour unit of? What is that? I'm sorry?
Energy.
What kind of energy?
Power.
Well, energy and power are two different things. It's
Kilowatt.
Which type of energy though? Is this gas or electric?
Oh, this is electric.
Yeah. Yep. So that's something that should like click, right? So kilowatt hours refers to electricity. So we got to go down here. So here it says CCF, which stands for what?
Natural gas.
Yeah.
Oil.
100 cubic feet, right? CCF. So CF, the C is 100, and then the CF is cubic feet. So 100 cubic feet. Okay. So how many CCFs of natural gas did they use this month?
128.
128. Okay, so there you go. There's your total use, right? So they give you your unit here, and then your total use is over here. It's going to be the same format on every bill. So for electricity, it's the same, except it's kilowatt hours, and it's 1,044. Okay, so we got our total use. Let's go back here. So the total bill, this is the total that they charge for gas for everything. Okay, so all gas charges. Okay, so remember the gas is down here. This is all electricity. So let me zoom out a little bit. What's our total gas charges for the month? So everything for gas.
120.
Yeah, so the new gas charges, this is the number you need for that, $120.67, which is also down here. So this 120.67 is all of these individual charges added up. This, and that's like a subtotal, and then they add this to it, and that gives you 120. So if you do the math, it'll do that. You don't have to do all that math. You just need to know this for that column. All right. Okay, energy cost. So this is where we get into the difference between the marginal and the blended rate. So the marginal rate is what you're paying per unit of energy. And the blended rate is you take the whole bill, the cost of the whole bill, and divide that by the energy use. So if we wanted to do the blended rate for the gas, we would just take $120.67 divided by 128 CCFs, and then we get dollars per CCF, right? So I don't know, someone could do that math real quick on their calculator, but it's about, you know, a little under $1 a CCF.
So the electricity and the gas, like columns. So it's going to be September all the way across for the natural gas and the electricity. You just have them separated in two next to each other.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So exactly right. So the energy cost is what you pay for the energy only. And it's identified on the bill as a per CCF cost for gas or a per kilowatt hour cost for electricity. So here's all of our charges for gas. So which of these is an energy charge?
The first 50, the last 78.
50. Oh, okay. Yeah, over here. Right. So this, yeah, here, because per
Yeah.
CCF.
Is the
This-
120, is the environmental surcharge, that's per CCF, so
It's
that
per
would be
CCF.
included.
Yep. That's included. Absolutely.
And then the gas cost charge,
Per CCF, right?
yeah,
Yep. That's it. Okay. So anything that's per CCF is your energy charge. And the distinction here is that this customer charge, this facility relocation charge, you could use 0 CCFs and they're still going to charge you. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you use. I've seen gas bills. We've analyzed gas bills before where they had zero gas use over the course of like the summer because there was no heating, and they're still paying the customer charge. So the customer charge doesn't change. And the reason this is important is because if you're doing an energy analysis and you want to tell them how much they're really paying for each additional CCF that they're using, this doesn't count because they're paying that anyway. So that's not going to change, but all of these charges will change. So that's why it's called marginal. And marginal cost is not specific to the energy field. I mean, you can do the marginal cost in anything. You can do the marginal cost of an apple, you know, or whatever. It's just the term that refers to like actually one more unit, what that costs you. Okay, so we have our energy charges, anything that's per CCF. All right, let's go back to our chart here. All right, and then the marginal cost is what? How do we calculate that? So this one you want to use Excel to do the work for you. So what's the formula for marginal cost?
it's energy cost divided by use.
That's it. Yep. That's it. So once you fill in the columns C and E, and you put in your formula in Excel and just drag your formula down, it'll calculate that for you. And everybody knows how to do that. If you don't,
No,
no. Okay. So let's just do this first one here. What was it? 120. I'm just going to make up some numbers here. Just say $100 or whatever. I don't know. 400, 499, whatever this is. Let's say it's $500, $599. Okay. So it's really easy. You just hit the equal sign. And then you click this cell and then divided by / and then click that cell and then hit enter. And that's it. Easy peasy. So, and then if you want to reformat it, you can hit the $sign. I like to do that. All right. So now as this, so Excel is smart enough that it understands this formula is this divided by this. And if you copy and paste it at the next cell down, okay, it's going to automatically update it to be this divided by this. And then if you copy it down to this cell, it's going to be this divided by this, and so on. So it follows it down unless you change, there's some syntax you can use to make that not happen, but we'll not worry about that for now. So for now, the easy thing is if you have your numbers filled in here, and again, I'm just going to throw in numbers here that don't make any sense necessarily, but so what you could do is you click on the cell and you have your formula up here. You can see that you can always check your formula and you can click on it in the formula bar and it'll highlight and you can see it's color coded. All right. So we click on the cell and then you see how right now my cursor is, you know, like across a thick empty cross or whatever you want to call that. And if I go over the bottom, you see how it turns into like a plus sign. So that's, I didn't hit anything. I'm just moving the mouse. And if you go over the corner, now I left click and I'm just basically dragging that corner down like that. And the formula, now you can see the formula copied down and it stayed relative, right? So now this formula is that divided by that and so on. Okay, and so you can actually drag it down if you want to, drag it all the way down. And right now it's giving me an error because there's no data over here. But once you know, whatever, I punch something in here, it's going to update, right? And it'll automatically update your result. Okay, so that's the easy way to, you just have Excel do that for you. The other thing you want to do is for the total bill is just a number from the bill, but the energy cost you should, and I strongly advise you do this, you should type a formula in here because you're adding multiple numbers from the bill. So the CCF you just grab right from the bill. The total bill is just right there on the bill. Now this is, you have to add up some numbers. Now you can either, if we look at our bill, to get the energy cost, because remember the energy cost is this, 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 and this. So you could either in your Excel, you can add them up. So you just hit equals. Anytime you're doing a formula, hit equals. And then, you know, 54 plus 70, I'm just making up numbers here, 72 plus 15, 25, right? And you just hit enter and it'll add that up for you. Okay, so you should have a formula in there. And the reason I say that is you're entering a lot of data in here. If you make a mistake and your numbers are like way off because you accidentally type something in wrong or you punch something wrong on your calculator, if you don't keep your formula, you know, if you don't use your formulas in Excel, it's hard to figure out how you got that number. So if you make a mistake, it's a lot easier to go back and fix it if you add all these numbers up inside of Excel. Okay, or you'll get the same result if you add those four up, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can just take this minus this minus this. That might be easier because there's only two charges that don't count. Okay, so you should have formulas in here. I won't take off points if you don't, but if you're ever doing a utility analysis, you really need to do it that way. But for our purposes, as long as you have the right number, it's okay. But it'll be a lot easier to fix mistakes if you have your calculation in there.
So the total bill is your gas and electricity usage together, like what you're paying for the month, and then your energy cost is just what you're using for the gas and not the electricity.
No, the total bill is just for the gas. it's the total gas bill. Whereas the energy cost is, it doesn't it's the total gas bill, but minus this and minus this. So the energy cost
Okay.
is this plus this plus this plus this, which is just a little bit less than your total bill. And then you have an electricity total bill, right? Yeah, Mike.
Oh, I just wanted to know, like, what we should include on the kilowatts too, but you're going up there now. so-
Yeah, let's do that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so kilowatt hours. So the electricity, there's a couple more charges up here. So Mike had already indicated correctly that we have 1,044 kilowatt hours of use, right? So it's the same month. We got 1,044 kilowatt hours. Our total bill. What is our total bill? So you might need to scroll around a little bit. I mean, it's on this page. It's also on this page.
Yeah, it's on 2 pages.
Yeah. So we have our total electric charges, 145.93. Right. So that's our total electricity bill. And that's also up here. Yeah, 145.93. So you can just, so these are your total electric bill. Okay, so what are our energy charges for electricity then?
On this, I used everything except customer charge and relocation charge.
Good. Well, almost. So let's go through this one by one. So you're right. Customer charge is a flat charge. It doesn't matter how much you use or don't use. Okay. This is per kilowatt hour. This is per kilowatt hour. This is per kilowatt hour. This and this. So all of these are per kilowatt hour. Okay. So everything at the top is except for its customer and the relocation. And then at the bottom, we have kilowatt hours here. We have kilowatt hours here. What is this?
It's just per kilowatt, so we don't include that.
Kilowatt. And kilowatt is unit of what? Is that energy or power? That's
Power.
power. So that is not an energy cost. So that won't really change if you use more or less. So that charge basically stays the same all year. That's assessed in a different way that goes a little beyond what we're going to do in this course. So anyway, it's not an energy charge. So if you're looking for energy charges, just you have to know your units, right? So you know the electricity unit is kilowatt hours. So anything that's in it that has a kilowatt hour listed, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Okay. So for this one, I would absolutely recommend, it's up to you, but what I would recommend is you take the total charges for electricity for the month and subtract out the power, the customer, and the relocation charge, because those are the only 3 that are not energy charges. So it's less numbers to deal with. Or you can add up all of these charges if you want to. Either way, you'll get the same answer. Okay. So that's we got our total bill, and we have our energy cost. And again, the marginal cost is just the same formula. You just take the energy cost divided by the total use.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I type in the use in kilowatt hours
Uh-huh.
and put the 1,044 in there, it changes it automatically. It says 9-November. Like it changes it to like a date or something.
Yeah, that have the same thing happened to Mike. So let me see here. Which column is that?
On the electricity, even for like the month, year on.
It's on electricity under use kilowatt hour.
Yeah, and for me, it's on the gas, it's under the month and year. It says like if I do 2/16, it changes it 16 February.
Okay, so what that is that that's the cell format. So all you have to do is you go up here to the top to this number,
Mhm.
and then you you can do the drop down and just click general.
Okay,
Yep. So it changed the format of the. It must have been an old spreadsheet that had different formatting. So you can always change the format, or you could right click, do format, and then you could go to number. You could go to general, hit it OK, and it would do the same thing. And you
and
can
for
hide, and you
the,
can enter. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and on the gas side, when you said, when we were talking about the date on the bill, the first column would be January, even though it's a February bill?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. Yep. Because it describes January's energy use mostly.
okay.
So do you have to use the bill? You can't use the graph in the my usage section on Delmarva?
Yeah. I mean, there's just no way to get accurate enough information from that. And plus there's no cost. There's no cost data in there. Like that gives you I mean, you can get an estimate of the number, but you need to know the real number.
Well, it
Can-
was giving me a cost, but I don't know what that cost was calculating. Can I screen share?
Yeah.
Okay. So like when I roll over it, it tells me
Mhm.
the CCF. And as you can see, I don't really have any crazy changes in my energy, but it does energy use. And then if I click energy cost, it will give me the cost. So what is this cost number then?
Okay, so you're looking at your bills.
Yeah,
Sorry, I gotta change my thinking. No, you want to analyze the bills that are loaded on D2L.
so we're not using our energy bills.
No. You just use the one. That's why I loaded all the bills up there.
Oh.
Did you do? How much of your work have you done?
Not that much. I just figured I just thought we were supposed to use our.
Yeah,
own
no,
different-
that's interesting. I mean, it's almost impossible for me to evaluate that. That's why I just give you the bills because I know I can't. That would take me days to go through everyone's bills to make sure that you do it correctly. So this way I know everyone's working off of the same information. Yeah, so I mean, Delmarva gives you more information than this. This is your estimated energy. That's what it looks like it costs you per day. So this is a daily chart of your energy cost. That's all that is. That's what that number is. So you could add those up. But anyway, we got to, yeah, you want to do the bills that are loaded on D2L.
Okay,
Yeah, just go off of that.
I should find them.
Can you
Yeah,
show us how to
I'm
do
glad you
the,
asked. Yeah.
can you show us how to do the total at the bottom of the chart? Like when we're totaling total energy
Yeah, there's
cost,
a really quick
totaling
way to
use?
do it. So if you have numbers in this, again, I'm just gonna just type dummy data in here. So if I want to total this, the fastest way to do it is there's this auto sum button at the top. Click that. It's actually smart enough. It'll automatically select all of it for you. And you can see the formula is sum, and then it tells you E13 through E24, right? So E13 through 24. And there you go. That's the easiest way to do it. Or you can hit, you can type in sum if you want to. And then you can highlight inside the parentheses, you can do that. Same thing. Or you can if you wanted to, you could add it up. It's this.
So
plus this.
the first way you hit auto sum and then selected all the cells, or how did you do
Well,
that
that's
again?
the cool part is the auto sum will just automatically select it'll like select everything above that's filled in. So if you
Oh,
click
okay.
that, that's all, I just clicked the one button and hit enter. So you just want to make sure it's selected the right cells. And you can change what's in here, right? Like you can go up here and type, And then like, let's say for whatever reason, I don't want to add E13 in there. I just want the 12, or excuse me, 14, like 599 down. I can go up here and change this E14. And you see how that's not highlighted anymore.
Yeah.
So Excel, I mean, Excel's great. You can, once you kind of get used to how it works, it is really, I think, generally has pretty good logic to it. So I thought construction management, you guys had an Excel class.
It's Excel or accounting. I chose accounting.
Okay, but you use Excel in accounting, right?
Yeah, I've used it before. It's just been a while.
Okay, you're a little rusty. Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad it's not the first time. Yeah, so that's the quick way. The auto sum button's the quick way. And then you can, so this formula, it's adding up all of these above it. So I can actually, you can drag across too. So again, remember, you go to the bottom right and I drag this way. And now this is going to be the sum of all the cells above it. This is going to be the sum of all the cells above it, and so on. So there's a lot of like nice shortcuts in Excel like that.
All right. I got another question about the HHI tab,
Yep.
the seasonal base load thing. It starts on I think it's down. Is it down further?
I'm sorry.
Is this does that page scroll down? Because that's
No,
not
that's it. That's all that's on there.
All right, so maybe it's on the utility and base load tab, and it's bottom right, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
on there
Yeah.
where it says May. Like, do we delete that and put something in there?
Yeah, that's just an example. Yeah.
Okay, so like I need to know like what month I should start on, like,
Yeah.
because should I do all 12 months on this?
Okay, so let's look at that first table. First table is cooling loads. When would you have a cooling load? Which months?
Summer months.
Yeah, so the warmer months. So let's just think about, I mean, we're up here, right? We're in the East Coast, Northeast. So is it just summer? I mean, which months? Well, let's be specific. Which months do you think
Could be
we would
May
use?
to I would say May to September.
So May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think you could, April's kind of a weird month. You may be using some cooling toward the end, but I wouldn't knock you back if you didn't include April.
So we should just, like, if we think it's 4 months, we should just only use 4 months on here. Cause it's got 6 months, like,
Yeah, I just wanted to give you enough space, but
okay,
it's more than 4 months. I'll say that much. It's not just 4 months out of the year that we use cooling.
so we should use all these spaces.
I think it would be best to just break it into 6 months, like the 6 coldest months and the 6 warmest months.
Okay, I got you.
And if you think about you're not going to have, so your heating load, there's not a lot of overlap between heating and cooling seasons. April is borderline, and like September, October. I mean, I think the weather right now, like, you might, hot day, you need a little bit of cooling, but we're getting to the point where the highs are, think about it this way, if the highs are in the mid 60s, you probably don't need any cooling, right? Because that's all, if you remember our base temperature that I went over is 65. So if it doesn't get above 65, even if it does get a little above 65 for a few hours, like, you probably don't really need much cooling. So yeah, so I would say that October is really, it's like the last 25% of the year, right? So October, November, December, and like the first quarter of the year, January, February, March is when you're going to be heating. April is a little borderline, but
So this is my plan. On month one, I'm gonna put April to month 6 is September, and then on heating loads, it's gonna be October to March. Does that sound right?
that makes sense to me. That's the way I would
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
I mean, it makes logical sense. And you can't, it could change from year to year too. You know, we could have a really warm October, but you want to do, you know, real base loads. You take what's called the typical meteorological year, and there's data out there. There are data out there that show you actually you can get the average hourly temperature at the most weather stations, and that would be the real way to do it. But this gives you a good enough approximation. So yeah, I would agree with that approach.
Okay, on the create a chart thing, we're basically making like a chart, a graph. Should we make like 2 graphs for one for CCF, one for kilowatt hours, or should we? I mean, how will we do that on the same graph? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can do it either way, whatever works for you. I mean, doing a secondary axis is actually really easy. If you make your chart and if you put both lines on your chart and you just right click one of the series. Okay, so you right click on either the natural gas or the electricity line, and then there's an option for secondary axis, and then it'll do it. So it's up to you, but you can do 2 different ones. That's fine. The idea is for you to put it on a chart. If you really want to, you can do it by hand. That's fine with me. I mean, I think Excel's easier, but the idea is it really helps you visualize the energy use trend throughout the year. So you can sort of see it go up and down, and that'll help you determine, which energy sources are used for heating and which are used for cooling.
I'll probably draw it because I don't know how to do it on Excel.
That's fine. Yeah, yeah. Just make sure you scan it and submit it with the rest of the
Alright.
assignment.
Can you just really quickly, because I am gonna write some of this down.
Yeah.
Just re-explain the total bill, what that is again. It's all the energy cost that has the CCF next to it and not
That's
all
the energy
the,
cost. Yeah. Here, let me go back to the bill. The total bill is the total charges for that energy. So here's your total bill for electricity.
Mhm.
Here's your total bill for gas.
And we're just writing it for the gas because obviously that's the gas graph.
It's a
or
gas
the
section. Yeah.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the gas section is at the bottom. And then the energy charge for gas, that's the per CCF. So that's this, and this. Because CCF is energy,
Mhm.
right? And then for electricity, it is all of the per kilowatt hour. So kilowatt hour. Remember, skip the kilowatt, that's power. It's not energy. Kilowatt hour. So all of those are all energy charges. But all of the electricity charges combined are the total bill. All of the gas charges combined are the gas bill. Or the total gas bill.
So I know this is probably a stupid problem, but on the natural gas and electricity charges, I changed like both cells to general, and when I type in the date, it still switches it to like 16-January or 16.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah,
Cameron?
I got you. Let's see here. There you go. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right. So even if I have it switched to general, when I type that, it just switches it.
Oh yeah, you want to change the date format. So if you click that and then if you go to date,
Short date.
It might do it. I don't know. This is a Mac. Is it, you have a Mac, huh?
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, it's a little bit different. If you go to, yeah, go to more number of formats, and then here you can choose any number of date formats. So if you go to the date up to the left. Yep. And then, yeah,
Or
that one.
This
Right.
one. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Thank you for showing that because I have a MacBook too.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, the past 10 minutes, I've just been trying to fix that. It's been
Yeah.
pissing me off. So
Yeah, I don't use Excel much, so.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really handy if you know, the more you use it, the handier it is, but you can definitely get stuck. So,
I just typed it in parentheses because it was doing the same thing for me.
yeah, you can do that. Then it won't change anything. Yeah, that's kind of a workaround, but it's useful to know how to use Excel. I can tell you that. I mean, a lot of folks use it, but
Yeah.
And then when you all do the seasonal load calculation, how are you going to do that? So that bottom right, those bottom right tables. So is it the total energy use each month, or what is it?
are you talking about the last column, the annual load?
The bottom right where you're doing the seasonal load. Like that one that I was going over with Mike with the
The HHI,
you use it for the HHI, yeah. Here, let me share my screen again. Not the HHI though, the tables on the bottom right. Share here. The one that we were talking about, where we're analyzing how many months out of the year, these ones.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So how are you calculating? Where do you get the cooling load number? Where do you get the heating load number? Let's take a step back. What's a base load and what's a seasonal load? What, like, define that? What is a base load?
Base load is like your average of I guess 3 months. Yeah.
Your 3 lowest months, yeah. And then what does that mean? What's the significance of the base load? What is it? Like how would you define a base load?
It's
an
what you
average.
It is an average, but
it's what you use no matter what, like the energy you use no matter what, like no matter
Yep.
what the season.
exactly. So the base load, you think about it, it's like the base, right? So it doesn't change. It's sort of flat. Think of it physically as a base, like in that chart I showed in the one presentation. It's the energy that you use year round, regardless of the time of year, right? So lights, refrigerator, hot water heater, computer, TV, all that stuff, like you use it year round no matter what. That's a base load. Doesn't change. It can go up and down a little bit, but it really stays pretty flat. And then we have seasonal load, which is, what's a seasonal load? Think what the
Isn't
term
it
means.
just,
Yep.
don't
go
you
ahead.
just multiply it by the heating degree days?
Well, that's really your heating load. You're thinking of heating load, I think.
Oh, yeah, I am. I'm looking at my notes.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, so that's something that you would use to figure out your total approximate heating load for the year. You can do that. So base loads you use the same year round. Seasonal load, what is that? Does that stay the same year round? Does that change?
It changes based on the season.
Yeah, it changes based on the season, right? So that's basically your heating and cooling loads. Okay, so in the winter, still have think of the winter, right? I have my base load, but then you add your seasonal load on top of that. In the summer, I have my base load, which is the same, but I add my seasonal load on top of that. And then you have these shorter months, the spring and the fall, you tend to not have much seasonal load at all because it's, you don't need much heating and cooling.
Oh, so we're pretty much just taking each month. We're taking the gas and the electric for each month and we're putting it next to that month. And then at the end, we just add up for the year with the CCF and the kWhs, or for that, like the 6 months and the 6 months.
For this one,
Yeah,
yeah, you gotta be a little bit careful. So with this is your cooling and heating load, which is your seasonal load, okay? For each season. So the seasonal load, like we don't know what the seasonal load is. We have to figure it out. Okay. But let's take like a month in the middle of the winter. Okay. Actually, let's do the summer. It's a little easier. So let's say it's the middle of summer. Let's say I calculate my base load, and Mike described how we calculate the base load. We take the 3 lowest months, right? So the lowest 3. So once it's like a step-by-step process here. You do all your utility bills, and then you figure out your costs and all that. You do all that information that we went over. Then you go down here and you figure out your base load. And so you take, now you have all of these months filled in, right? So we have all of our kilowatt hours filled in here, and you take the 3 lowest of those, right? You add them, you put it in here, right? So there's, let's say it's April, March, and September, whatever, right? So you do April and then the energy use, March, energy use, September, energy use. Then you have those are the 3 lowest months of energy use out of the whole year. And then you find the average of those 3 months, like you all mentioned. And that's my base load. That's my monthly base load. So you take those 3 low months, you average them out, and you're saying this is the approximate amount of energy I use every month, no matter what time, what time of year it is. So that's you take the average of the 3 lowest, and that's your base load, okay? And then the annual base load, of course, you just multiply it times 12. So now, I want you to sort of visualize it, right? So like every month, let's say this is, I don't know, let's say this is 500 kilowatt hours, okay? That's my base load. I have no idea what it is, but let's just say that for argument's sake. So let's say my monthly base load is 500 kilowatt hours. All right, so let's go in the summer. So if I have, let's say in May, if my total, let's say my total energy use in May is 1,000 kilowatt hours, okay? If my base load is 500 kilowatt hours, what's my seasonal load in May?
500.
It's 500, right? So to figure out your seasonal load, you think about any one month. Okay, so we're gonna do the months for cooling loads. We'll do the hottest months, right? So we could start with May. You'd really probably start with April. But you would take whatever the total electricity use was in May, and you subtract out the base load, because anything beyond the base load is my seasonal load, right? And you go to June. Let's say it's 1,200 kilowatt hours. My base load's still 500 because my base load doesn't change. So 1,200 minus 500, then it would be 700 kilowatt hours for my seasonal load. And let's say in July it's really hot, right? So my cooling shoots up. I use 2,000 kilowatt hours. My base load's still 500, so my cooling load is 1,500, and so on.
so the base load calculation is the average and the seasonal load is the comparison. Average. Like, when you do the
Yes, it's
subtraction, you just
anything
see how
beyond
much
the
you're
average.
using beyond the average.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep, exactly right.
So it's like, so let's say, for example, we have the electricity, which is 1,044, and then you would subtract your monthly baseload average from that 1,044.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
yes. And you just have to know whether you're in the heating or cooling. So that when we use 1,044, that was January, right? So
Yeah,
that would be like here, right? So what you have to figure out, so in this case, we have 1,044 kilowatt hours, and you can do the formula here, 1,044 minus, whatever that is, and it'll give you the number.
And that's the number you put in the box.
Yes, because that's your seasonal heating load for January. Assuming that electricity is used for heating. In the chart, and see it all connects. Once you do that chart, and then you answer these questions. So you want to do these questions kind of like in order. So you do these ones first, and then you go over here and you do these ones. And one of the questions is, what is used for heating and cooling? If it's cooling, I mean, the cooling, it's obvious you can't use anything but electricity for cooling, really, practically speaking anyway. But once you do that chart, it'll make it clear whether or not electricity is also used for heating. Because, you know, if the electricity spikes in the summer and then it's flat in the winter, then you're not using electricity for heating. But if it spikes in the summer and then spikes in the winter, that's a clear indication that you're using electricity for heating. And you can use electricity and gas for heating. That's pretty common, actually, to use hybrid systems.
So that's why you'll notice on bills, like if you're in July, that your electricity bill is going to be a lot higher than your gas portion, and vice versa, flip for the winter months. So you're going to have a really high gas, your gas portion is going to be high and your electricity is going to be lower.
Depending on how you heat, like some houses use a lot of electricity for heat as well as gas, then maybe some houses use electricity for heat, and you don't really, I mean, there's not really a house that would have a gas line and not use it for heating. So yeah, so that's either they're both gonna spike in the winter, or just the gas will spike in the winter and the electricity won't go up by much at all. And that's a clear indication. And that's one of the reasons why we do a utility analysis. Like we do this, all this stuff we do, you know, this is, you know, for our degree program, this is absolutely essential because we have to gather as much information as we possibly can about a building before we analyze it. So we do a full, believe it or not, much bigger utility analysis. It gets more complex than this, but yeah, you're trying to assess how they're using energy, when they're using energy, how much they're using, how much they're paying, and just get as much information as you can from the bills. Yeah, so that's your heating and cooling load. So just my point in going over that was to make sure that you know that you're not, the base load is not part of these, and you have to subtract them out. And then with the HHI, everything should flow pretty well from there. So the HHI is a really simple formula. It's just once you, again, this is all, it's all sort of builds on itself. So once you figure out your heating load, you'll end up with this many CCFs. And if they use electricity for heating, then this many kilowatt hours, right? So let's say you have whatever, 400 CCFs for heating and I don't know, 2000 kilowatt hours for heating. You need to convert that to BTUs. And that gives your total heating seasonal load in BTUs, right? So once you do this, you figure out, okay, how much energy am I using for heating? And then you convert that down here to BTUs, that's the easy stuff we did like week 1, week 2. Right, so if it's kilowatt hours, it's 3,412 BTUs per kilowatt hour. If it's CCFs, it's 102,500. So you convert all that to BTUs, and that says this is how much heat this house uses over the course of a year, based on the utility bills. So then you have your BTUs for heating, and then I give you the square footage. So the formulas for HHI is really easy. BTUs divided by square footage times the HDD. So you figure out the BTUs. I give you the square footage here. And then you need to use this website, the degreedays.net. And there was a video posted on that. It's really easy to use. You just have to find the, search for Wilmington, and it'll tell you the heating degree days for Wilmington. So then you've calculated your BTUs through doing your utility analysis, your heating load in BTUs. You have the square footage because I gave it to you. And then you find the HDD for Wilmington, plug it in, And there's your HHI. And then once you get to your HHI or home heating index, you just look to this chart, and the point is it gives you some indication of the general efficiency of the building. So if you get a number that's like, really whacked, and like you get like 50 or 100 on for your HHI, you did something wrong. If you get like 0.2 or 0.5 or even, I mean, this is really rare to get something down in the twos. Most houses are going to be between like 4 and 15 or so. But if you get a crazy number, then you did something wrong. So let's say you got I don't know, a 6, right? So you did this, you took the BTUs divided by the square footage, divided by the HDD, and you end up with 6. So you just go over to this chart here, and 6 falls obviously right between 4 and 8. And so that indicates that it's a better than average home, has good insulation, relatively low air leakage, better than average heating efficiency, but there's still some opportunities to save, right? So that's kind of the point, or that is the point of calculating the HHI, is that you can get, like if you're up here and if it's like 18, you're like, whoa, this is a really inefficient building. If I go in there, it's probably going to be really leaky, bad insulation, inefficient furnace. Whereas if they're down here, in the 2, 3, 4 range, probably a really, really efficient building. And that's the excuse me, the last question here. You just have to calculate the HHI and then go over to the chart and describe what you would expect to see if you went to the house. And that's the long and the short of it. I mean, that's pretty much it. So any questions, any confusion?
I wanted to know how many questions were on the quiz that got assigned today.
I think it's 20.
Okay.
So it's similar to last week's. It's just multiple choice based on this week's content.
Okay.
Yeah, when I would suggest when taking those to download the PowerPoint copies for reference. That'd be really helpful. And then any notes that you took from the lecture videos.
Okay.
PowerPoint's pretty good guidelines. All right, so how are we feeling about all this?
I'm good.
Other than exhilarated.
Exhausted.
I guess we'll see once we get working on it. Huh?
Yeah, so I mean, while some folks are here, I mean, the format of the class, like this is relatively new format. So I'm just curious if you would prefer to do something that's more face-to-face or like Zoom lectures like this that you're required to go to. I mean, I'm kind of have mixed feelings about the whole format here. I'm gonna stop recording.